Hello and welcome back to Pages, Picks, and Pans. It's been a while, but I have two movies for you today, both on Netflix. They'll Love Me When I'm Dead, which is a documentary, and The Other Side of the Wind. These go together. The Other Side of the Wind is Orson Welles' last film. You may know Orson Welles as the mind behind and the face of Citizen Kane. You may also have had to watch his version of Othello in high school, or perhaps watch him acting in many other films, including providing the voice for, I believe, Unicron in the Transformers animated film from 1986. And he died in 1985. The man never ceases to amaze me. Orson Welles was a maverick. Orson Welles is part of the Hollywood myth. He was branded a genius. He decided he was a genius. He made some pretty great films. He was very much larger than life. And as a result, when he started The Other Side of the Wind in 1970, he was able to get some very big names involved. He got John Huston in there. He got Peter Bogdanovich in there. Dennis Hopper shows up. There's all sorts of people in there. Now, he started filming it in 1970, but when he died in 1985, it was not complete. And the story of all of that 15 years is the subject of They'll Love Me When I'm Dead. So if you're like me and love Hollywood behind the scenes, all that stuff that goes on in the background of your favorite films, you will love that documentary. It travels this interesting path between biography and film history, and there's some theory thrown in, and we get to see what the people around Welles thought of and about his project. It's directed by Morgan Neville, who has done several documentary films, including Won't You Be My Neighbor, which was the Fred Rogers documentary. So it's a fascinating film. My only issue with it is that because a lot of the original footage that they're using is a different aspect ratio than standard screen ratio is now, they decided to, rather than just black out the sides, they've put sort of a grainy running film along the side, which I found distracting. Aside from that, it is a fascinating film and very much worth your time. When I got to the end of the film and I was like, and about to pry myself off the sofa, Netflix decided to rush the credits and say, up next, The Other Side of the Wind. And I was blown away because I had no idea that Netflix had bought the rights to the film in 2017, which is why they also put together that documentary to go with it. Brilliant marketing. I don't fault them for it. So The Other Side of the Wind, I would probably give less marks to. They'll Love Me When I'm Dead, I would give like a 4.5. Like I said, only that one issue that I had with the presentation of it. The Other Side of the Wind is another story altogether. Now, it was done. All the footage was finished that they were ever going to get. He left behind a lot of shooting notes and written notes about how he perceived the story. Even though he was very quiet, he kept it very close to himself, that the details of the film he wasn't really sharing with the cast, which is kind of fascinating. The Other Side of the Wind is two movies. The sort of outer package and the bulk of the film is sort of a pseudo-documentary, and it's almost autobiographical. You could be forgiven for thinking that it was autobiographical. there's a few things that give away that it's really not, but there's a lot that is very close to Welles that you think, no, that even if he wasn't conscious of it, then that was like amazing. So it's about this movie Maverick making the next big film, their comeback film, whatever. And it was shot over, I think, 5 years. It was a crazy amount of time. And basically, he just gathered all of his friends together to do this, and they just did. So that's part of it. But then the film within the film, this great comeback film that he's creating, that the main character is creating, is sort of a pseudo-European art film, which borders on pornographic. There's a lot of nudity. There's sex. I actually really liked the cut of the movie within the movie. And I would like to see that movie itself, because I think it would only be about an hour long. The Other Side of the Wind, however, is far too long. I would have edited at least another 30 minutes out of that film. The editing was done by Bob Murawski. I think that's his name. He often works with Sam Raimi, worked with Sam Raimi on the Spider-Man films. I won't hold it against him. I hate those movies. But he also won an Oscar for editing The Hurt Locker. So he knows what he's doing as far as editing. And I think he did the best he could with what was left of this movie. And I think he did it justice. It took me a while to let that set in. Initially, I wasn't so sure that I enjoyed the experience of it, but in hindsight, I definitely enjoyed it. Only because I'd seen They'll Love Me When I'm Dead first. I think you really need to see them in that order. I think you need to see both, and I do think you need to see the documentary before the film. Yeah, so I mean, I would give They'll Love Me When I'm Dead like 4.5 and The Other Side of the Wind like 3. It's a weird film. Very strange. I'm glad I've seen it, but I never need to see it again. So, anyway, this has been Paige with Paige's Picks and Pans, and there's another 2 picks for you. Thank you for playing along.